Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining and giving your session. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to assembled devotees here, all glories to our Guru Maharajas. This is Nina from Naperville, Chicago.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining and giving your session. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, all glories to assembled devotees. This is Mohini Lakshmi from Detroit.
Hare Krishna, Mohini Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining and giving your session. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Is there anybody who would like to introduce themselves? Mataji, is Prabhuji on the call, Mataji?
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, and all glories to assembled devotees. This is Srikant from Naperville.
Hare Krishna, Srikant Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you, Prabhuji, for joining and giving your session. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shyama Gauri Dasi. Hare Krishna Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Shyam Gauri Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining and giving your session. Hare Krishna. Mataji, I don't see Prabhuji on the call still.
I had seen Prabhuji come up and then he left. I don't know what happened.
Okay. Can we wait, Mataji?
Yeah, yes. If anybody wants to introduce, they can go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Radha Vigas and Atma of Austin, Texas. Please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to all the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Damodar Prabhuji and Atma Maya Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much, Mataji and Prabhuji, for joining and giving your session. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Is there anybody who would like to introduce themselves?
Let me call Prabhuji.
Okay, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji on the call?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll start the recording, Prabhuji, once again.
Hare Krishna. I welcome everyone to Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call. Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Harikshetra Prabhuji to enlighten us on Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 20th chapter, 2nd verse. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thanks a lot Prabhuji for your valuable time and association this morning. Before I hand over call to Prabhuji, I would like to give a brief introduction about Prabhuji. His Grace Harikshetra Prabhuji is a disciple of His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj. He is a gold medalist from Bharatiya University and has MS from Bichpilani. He worked in Wipro Technologies from 2004 to 2009. He has also filed patent in network security area. He started practicing Krishna consciousness in the year 2005 and joined for full-time service in the year 2009. Since then, he has served in various capacities at ISKCON Sri Narsimha Giridhari Mandir. He is currently serving as center head of ISKCON Whitefield, and under his guidance, the center is scaling new heights. Please take over the call, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Om Ajnanatamrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sadivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Dalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasa Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So thank you very much for this opportunity to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. So I don't know who was coordinating. So they were telling that both second and third sloka we can read. Since it is a little bit of impersonal, this one, and I don't know many of you, and practically I think I don't know any of you. So I was thinking, no, I'll just read the sloka, and then as we progress through the purport, we will discuss them rather than reading everything together in one shot and then giving a class. So let me just read the second sloka and then its translation, and we'll take on from there. Okay. Tadekada tu rishabha puranjana purim nrapa rurudur bhauma bhogadhyam jarat pannagapalitham. Once the dangerous soldiers attacked the city of Puranjan with great force. Although the city was full of paraphernalia for sense gratification, it was being protected by the old serpent. So this is an allegorical story that is continuing from the previous chapter. And here we see that this city is now being attacked. So this is the old age that is coming in, the gradual symptoms of the old age that is coming in. And the serpent that is mentioned here is the prana, the life air or the vital force of the body. So that is very weak at the old age. And at the time, various attacks actually comes into the body. So now we will just progress with the purport and we will have explanations as we go. As one's body engages in sense gratification, it becomes weaker and weaker daily. Finally, the vital force becomes so weak that it is herein compared to a weak serpent. So here, the first aspect that we can see in the list of transcendentalism, in the list of spiritual practices, we see that even we don't bring in karma yoga as a very important principle here. The transcendentalism, when we take the list of transcendentalism, we take jnana yoga and then we take dhyana yoga. So all these principles we take, but then we don't take karma yoga even in the picture of transcendental. Like if we put transcendentalists, we don't call karma yogis as transcendentalists. We call the jnana yogis and ashtanga yogis as transcendentalists. So why? It's because karma yogis still they want to enjoy this material world. No, they want still they want some enjoyment in this one, or otherwise like no, they are interested in materialistic activities, and because of which they don't appear in the list of transcendentalists. Transcendentalism starts when sense control starts. No, otherwise there is no transcendentalism, right? So now we see that the sense gratification is something that has been very, very much criticized throughout our Vedic literatures, especially throughout Bhagavad Gita. Krishna mentions ehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yonaya yevate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. So that means this contact of the senses and the sense objects, that is in fact he uses this word dukkha yonaya yevate. That means it is pregnant with misery. Whenever I come in contact with the senses, when the senses comes in contact with the sense objects, it is a perfect formula for misery. So in this world, everyone is just behind this particular thing, that sense gratification, and that's the only thing that they know about. And in fact, even if we say to people that you give up this sense gratification, they feel offended about it. right? So they don't like to even hear about such a thing. So in the past, like when sadhus walk into the homes of people, so people would expect, some things like this, that now a sadhu has come, so he's going to speak in such a way that our attachment to the sense gratification can be slackened. So that's something that everyone had this expectation. Everyone had this kind of this is standard of transcendentalism, and everybody wanted to progress in the path of transcendentalism. So now the condition is that people are fully immersed in sense gratification, and then they have hardly any feelings, any bad feelings for that. Rather, they actually cherish the sense gratification, and that we can see from the people's attitude. What all they want, they want to build their body, they want to build their bank balance, they want to build their society, status in the society and things like that. So everything is in connection to the sense gratification, and that is held high. It's not that we cannot say that these things were not there in the previous ages. They were there, but definitely they had this idea that sense control is something higher, right? So people had a lot of respect for the brahmanas. People had a lot of respect for saints who voluntarily renounce things for the purpose of sense control, for the purpose of advancement in spiritual life. And these days we see that people have, if you have left everything and gone, oh, maybe you are invalid, maybe you don't have sufficient skills to survive in the world, and that's how we have taken a renounced ashram or something like that. So it is, people are looking at it in a very, very negative way, because sense gratification is all in all for them, and sense gratification is the standard of measurement of their progress in life. So here it's mentioned, as much as a person is doing sense gratification, that much his body will become weaker. So one of the reasons why in the different ages there are the bodily strength of the people reduces. In the Satya Yuga, like we have a long span of life people live, and then every age, it's divided by 10. It's getting reduced. And in the previous age, Dwapar Yuga, it was 1,000 years, and then now we see in Kali Yuga 100 years also is a great thing if we achieve. So it is basically because increase in the sense gratification. Right? So increase in the sense gratification, that's the primary thing that is actually pulling a person down, to a weaker kind of a sense, and soon he has to give up his body and things like that. So there was one story wherein a king, he was a perfect Vaishnava king, and then he made sure that everyone are practicing Krishna consciousness very, very nicely, and then the old age and invalidity has completely gone out, from the whole system. And I think somebody can. Okay, so the old age and invalidity had completely gone out of that kingdom, and in fact, even no one was dying also. So then Indra and Yamaraj and all these people had got so much of anxiety. What is it that in this place, because they are practicing Krishna consciousness, it is beyond the control of the demigods. And then the Yamaraj also is jobless now. What will he do? No, he's not finding anybody dying over there to pick them up, right? So in this way, it was like kind of a big trouble. And then finally they made a plan that they will send some apsaras to this kingdom of this king, and then they will make them very nice dancers in that king's courtyard, in the court. And then later on, at one point in time, these apsaras will make the king to fall down. So, and it so happened that and on one fine day, so they showed themselves up in a very, very in a nude way or something like that. And then the king thought for a moment about sense gratification, and that's it. Immediately the old age, everything started progressing. All the degradation, all the a degeneration of the bodies of every citizen started. So this is one of the Puranic stories. Now we can see that the sense gratification is so poisonous that it can actually degenerate our whole system, right? So that's something that is mentioned here. And finally, the vital force becomes so weak that it is herein compared to a weak serpent. the life air has already been compared to the serpent. So because the serpent of 5 hoods, the 5 airs are there in our body, prana, apana, vayana, udana, and stuff like that. So these airs have become weak. When the prana vayu becomes weak, so then the living entity to sustain in the body becomes very difficult. So the body becomes very emaciated, and then the living entity has to leave the body. So now this snake, when it is very good, it is having so much of immune power, and it is offering the body so much of immune power, and the body is able to sustain. But then when the snake becomes weaker, so then even a small attack is sufficient, the body will be finished, right? So that's what is happening here. This serpent, which was safeguarding this body or the kingdom of Puranjan, it has become weak now. And at such a time, right? At such a time, the death symptoms, that is, the dangerous soldiers of death superintendent Yamaraj, began to attack very severely. According to the Vedic system, before coming to such a stage, one should leave home and take sannyas to preach the message of God for the duration of life. However, if one sits at home and is served by his beloved wife and children, he certainly becomes weaker and weaker due to sense gratification. Okay, so this is one very important principle. In fact, it is a very important leadership principle also. So in the leadership, we see that we groom people, we take people from one stage to another, and we take them to like higher levels of performance and things like that. And an effective leader should also know when to step out. No, it is not that lifelong we will keep somebody under our control. No, that's not this one. So people will come up, and people will, especially the stages, the lower stages of Adar Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anarthana Vritti. So these stages actually progress quite faster. And then the later stages actually takes a lot of time to progress. In that way, we see the juniors whom we are trying to like train up, very soon they will come up to our level, or somewhere closer to our level. So it is very, very important. It's at the right time we have to step out of the scene, and we have to give them their freedom, their space to function actually. So it's a very, very important principle here also. In terms of the old people, it is mentioned that they should in the last stages of life, they should take sannyas, or they should leave home to practice Krishna consciousness strongly, or in sort of like in a very precise sense, Prabhupada is writing, they should go for the preaching of Krishna consciousness. It's a very, very important principle. So if they stay no longer than that, they will lose respect in home. And also, when they try to, because they have been controlling the home for all the time, and that's a habit, and they want to control. But then now, their juniors, their children have grown up, and they know what to do, and they know better than us what to do, and things like that. So at the time, they will feel that it is an obstruction. This is kind of a it's like they start feeling the old people to be kind of an obstruction and things like that. If the old people know how to turn back into children, how to turn back into be a dependent, like how they were in the younger ages and things like that, so then it is okay. Otherwise, better is to step out and to go for preaching. That's the best formula. And more the sense gratification, more the problem, more we become weaker. Sense gratification means if we are there at home, if I'm an old person, if I'm there at home, and naturally the etiquette is what? The etiquette is the younger person should serve the older person, and naturally I'll be receiving service, and that thing is detrimental for the path of Krishna consciousness. So for that reason, for younger people to serve the older people is good, but then the older people to keep on taking service in that way, it may not be very nice. So at least if they go out and step out and preach Krishna consciousness, or dedicate their life for service of Krishna, so then that is a very nice thing. That is a very nice thing. So there should be some contribution, in that sense. And if they're invalid, that's a different case. But then, if there is some energy in the body, it should be used in the service of the Lord. And then, they should try to preach the message of Krishna consciousness. And however, if one sits in home, so he will become more weaker. So the sense gratification doesn't necessarily mean the union with the opposite sex. Sense gratification in any means, even enjoying one's own name and fame, that's also lusty. Even enjoying one's own the life savings, and then living in a very comfortable life and things like that. Even that is also like weakening one's position, weakening one's spiritual position. So one should try to step out and try to serve the Supreme Lord in a nice capacity, right? So in that way, we can see that it is one should try to prepare himself, and then he should try to leave home before he get to the point of death. So at least in the Vedic times, it was the case that people would leave home, and then they would not even the family members not even would know where they are going, and they would just go to the forest, and they would just control their mind and senses, and they would apply themselves to the process of Krishna consciousness. And in Kali Yuga, this kind of sannyas is prohibited, right? So why this kind of sannyas is prohibited? 5 things are prohibited: Ashwamedham, Gavalambam, Sannyasam. This sannyas is mentioned: Sannyasam, Falapaitrikam, Devarena Sutotpatti, Kalo Pancham Vivarjaye. So why these 5 things are prohibited? There is no qualified people to execute these things. Especially, today's topic, the sannyas, we can take. In sannyas, the kind of sannyas that is mentioned here is a sannyas in terms of in the level of jnana yoga. A person who enters into the jnana yoga, this one. So that means like he is giving up karma yoga and he is entering into jnana yoga. So that is a very, very big thing. Who is qualified in that way to do that? It is not possible actually. So the base or the very, very grossest level of living life is the life of sense gratification, is the life of complete enjoyment of everything that I possess, and thinking that everything that I possess is my property, and then I'm entitled to enjoy everything that I possess. So that is like it's like basic karmi. We call them as like sinful life. So very, very downtrodden life. So next level of life is that is of the karma yoga, sakama karma yoga. And sakama karma yoga means what? This person, he doesn't just want to enjoy everything as he wants. He still wants to enjoy, but then he wants to enjoy based on the rules and regulations given by the Lord. So he reads the scriptures, he understands them, he has guidance from the Brahmanas, and then he executes Vedic sacrifices and things like that. And then whatever is coming, as a result of it, he takes it for his enjoyment, and then he offers things. He continues to perform Vedic sacrifices. So it is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita 3rd chapter, where Krishna mentions that this whole system is established of how is Krishna establishing the whole system of the materials economy. He's mentioning that I have created this world, and then I have put the the people are there, and then the devatas are there, and then the natural resources are there. So when the people, when they perform yajna, so to the Supreme Lord, and the devatas will be pleased by that, and then devatas will supply all the necessities of life for the people in general. So here also it's very important, we should not think that when these sections of Bhagavad Gita comes, we should not think that Krishna is recommending demigod worship. No, Krishna is never recommending demigod worship. It's like demigods are like the departmental officers of various departments of the universe. And even now, like when we have to pay electricity bill or any other bill, we have to pay, it all goes to the government's treasury, and then the particular department, all the people who are working there, they will get their salaries, right? So that's the way it works. The offering has to be offered to the Supreme Lord. Krishna is very clear about it in Bhagavad Gita. Yajna shishta shinoshanta muchyante sarva kilbishai bhunjante teve aham papa ye pachanti atma karana. So he says that yajna shishta, so that which is offered for the pleasure of Vishnu, or that which is offered in sacrifice to Vishnu, that is the yajna shishta. And that is the way the yajna has to be performed. Yajna means Vishnu, that's all. Right? So when it is performed, so then the devatas become pleased, and they give the necessities of life, and then people can enjoy, and a portion of it they enjoy, and then again they do further sacrifices. Performing sacrifices every day, that is the life of a karma yogi. So sometimes people have this wrong notion that I go to the office, I work, and then I use my stuff, and then I just do one puja in the morning, or I just have some religious stamp on me and things like that. So then I become a karma yogi. No, karma yogi means he has to do all the yagyas, deva yagya, pitra yagya, bhuta yagya, all these different yagyas. No, he has to perform. His life is full and full, engaged in various kinds of sacrifices, right? So he is following the Vedic scriptures, the karma kanda section of the Vedic scriptures, very, very diligently. And such a karma yogi is not possible. No, literally in Kali Yuga, karma yoga is not possible at all. And here we are talking about sannyas. No, this sannyas is, no, what is this sannyas is all about? This sannyas, like, or generally, like, when the Vedic system, in the Vedic times, like what used to happen is people used to take sannyas after practicing karma yoga to a certain extent. They will lose their interest in enjoying the fruits of their work. So that is the first milestone that they actually come across. And then when they lose the interest in enjoying the results of their own work, so then they come to the platform of Nishkama Karma Yoga. And then when they come to the platform of Nishkama Karma Yoga, they are still doing the Vedic sacrifices. But when the results come, they are not attached to it. No, they are ready to give it off, they are ready to distribute and things like that. So, Nishkama Karma Yoga is the next level of Karma Yoga that they perform. And then at the mature stage, they even lose the desire to perform any of the Vedic sacrifices, considering them to be material. And then when they lose those attractions also, then they come to the platform of jnana. No, jnana means what? The knowledge. Whenever we come across the statement knowledge or jnana in Srila Prabhupada's books or the Vedic texts, the meaning is the difference between the body and soul. No, a person who can understand the difference between body and soul. If he is not able to understand the difference between body and soul, he is still engaged in activities that are meant to satisfy the body. No, he is still engaged in karma yoga or things that are connected to the body, very much. So then he is in avidya. No, then he is not knowledgeable. Knowledgeable person means Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na soshati na kangshati. No, he doesn't have any lamentation. He doesn't, what is it? No, he doesn't hanker for anything, and he doesn't he doesn't lament for anything, right? So that is the platform of knowledge. So whenever we come across the statement knowledge, it is not the how many slokas that we know or how much of Bhagavatam that we know. No, after knowing this Bhagavatam, we have to come to the stage of understanding the difference between body and soul. Then we are situated in knowledge. Otherwise, we are not situated in knowledge, right? So, this is one of the things that we cross a milestone that we will cross. And this is the stage the karma yogis come to the platform of performing jnana yoga, or come to the platform of taking sannyas, for that matter. So in the Vedic progression, when they go to these progressions, so such a sannyas is being prohibited in Kali Yuga. One of the 5 things that is prohibited in Kali Yuga is such a sannyas, right? So that is why, when the Vaishnava devotees, when they take sannyas, so that is not like this karma sannyas. No, they take sannyas for propagating the mission of the Lord. So that's very nicely Prabhupada is putting. Sannyas means to preach the message of Krishna consciousness. Sannyas means not that I'm frustrated with my family life. No, I'm frustrated with everything that's going around me, so let me take sannyas. No, that's even in the Vedic system, that such a sannyas was not existing, right? So in the Vedic system, sannyas means after one attains the platform of knowledge, he is not moved by happiness and distress so much of this world, so then he can take sannyas for further progress. But in Kali Yuga, such a thing is not possible, because there is no practitioner of this one karma yoga is there. Then what's the point of not taking sannyas? No, that's graduation of karma yoga. So that's, if there is no schooling only, then there is no point of graduation, right? So in that way, that is not there. So now sannyas means it is only about the Vaishnava sannyas, that is for preaching the message of Krishna consciousness, right? So okay, so whenever we discuss about this topic, devotees end up asking this question. So do we also get such results as giving up the attachment to the fruits of the activities, and then attaining the platform of knowledge and things like that? So does Bhakti Yoga also produce such things? Yes, definitely. In the second canto, or first canto of the Bhagavatam itself, it is there that Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayatyashu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yadahaitukam. So that means when a person performs bhakti, then naturally the effects of the whatever this jnana yogis attain, the knowledge, the difference between the body and soul, that's very clearly that comes out. Why? Because we are engaged in the service of the Supreme Spirit, the Supreme Lord, and that's an ultimate engagement on the spiritual platform, right? So that is one thing. And then vairagyam, that is also automatically it comes out, for a practitioner of devotional service. Bhakti yoga is sufficient enough. Bhakti yoga is sufficient enough. We will cross all these milestones, what these people cross by performing karma yoga, jnana yoga, and things like that. We will cross all these milestones just by the grace of the Lord and just by the blessings of the Lord. We will be able to easily cross through these paths. But only thing that is very, very much required is to fully focus on the Bhakti yoga. Fully focus on the Bhakti yoga. Prabhupada sometimes gives this example of fan switching off the fan. So we have to switch off the material things. That is when it is very important. That is when the progress of Krishna consciousness starts. Otherwise, we will be stuck in the initial platform itself. We will not even start the practice of Krishna consciousness if we don't fully switch off. It's a very important point. Our life, everything that exists in our life must be pure devotional service. Whether it be like you're going to the office, you're working, you're handling family, and you're taking care of children, whatever it may be, it should fall under the perspective of pure devotional service, or it should fall under the category of pure devotional service. Every single action of our life can be done in terms of pure devotional service, and it should be done in that way. It's not that chanting time and reading time and like my sadhana time is pure devotional service, then after that I do some karma, and after that I do something else. Oh, forget it. It's not going to work in that way. Every bit of our life should be pure devotional service. Even our sleeping should be pure devotional service. Everything should be done in terms of pure devotional service. That's something very, very important for us. And in that way, when we actually progress, then actually we can actually progress nicely. Here it's mentioned, however, if one sits at home and is being served by beloved wife and children, he becomes weaker and weaker due to sense gratification. When death finally comes, one leaves the body devoid of spiritual assets. Spiritual assets, we will get spiritual assets only if we practice spiritual life. Otherwise, we will not get spiritual assets. Where will we get the spiritual assets? So a gross materialist, he is attached to the family environment, and that is it. That's everything, all in all for him. And then even if we go and ask, that now you have been, now you are so old, why not you take up Krishna consciousness seriously? Sometimes they get offended, if we ask such a request. So it is very, very important that we take this call much earlier in our life. In fact, in the next purport, we will see that very clear distinction in the brahmacharya life, in the beginning stages of the life, or when we bring up our children. If we give them a taste of Krishna consciousness, that's a very important thing. If we give them a taste of Krishna consciousness, later on they will hanker for it. Later on, they can take up to this serious practice of Krishna consciousness. But if we don't give them the taste of Krishna consciousness, sometimes like here we have a lot of counselings. Sometimes it is the parents come and then they say that our children are so unruly and things like that and all. And then when we analyze the case, actually the problem is with the parents. Actually the problem is with the parents. They make Krishna consciousness so bitter for the children that they hate to the core. How can it be possible? Krishna is the Akhila Rasamrita Murti. Krishna is so lovable person, such a sweet person. How can he be bitter? No, it is not possible. It's only our presentation of Krishna consciousness to the next generation that's making it so bitter that they hate it to the core, right? So that's the biggest problem that we face. Now, this is a very important thing that we need to see, that the parents being trained nicely how to take care of the children or the next generation. The children are very important. Prabhupada sometimes says the children of the devotees, they are all, it is not so easy to take birth in the family of devotees. No, they must have performed some pious activities to come to that position of to be born in the devotee family, or to be born in that kind of an environment, to get that kind of an environment. It is not an easy thing. No, they must have performed something in their past life, right? So such qualified souls, when they come, no, rather than encouraging them further in the path, if we actually put them down, no, that's not a very good service actually. No, in fact, Prabhupada sometimes he says that children are not botheration. No, children have to be taken care in such a way, they have to be groomed in such a way that they become nice devotees of the Lord. And that is possible if we can give them the taste of Krishna consciousness. No, we have to allow them to taste the Krishna consciousness. It is so sweet. No, they have to somehow or other find their piece or their bit of Krishna consciousness which they like, and they can engage in that, no, in a nice way, right? So in this way, like we can see that, this yeah, so what we were discussing about, yeah, devoid of spiritual assets. So if a person leaves the body without any spiritual assets, surrounded by all the material amenities and things like that, so there is no hope. No, so a person has to quit whole game, and then he has to take up wholehearted Krishna consciousness fully. And at the present time, even the oldest man in the family does not leave home, being attracted by wife, children, money, opulence, dwelling, etc. Thus, at the end of life, one worries about how his wife will be protected and how she will manage the great family responsibilities. In this way, a man usually thinks of his wife before death. And according to Bhagavad Gita 8:6, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tajatante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sadatat bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. So this is another important obstacle in our path of Krishna consciousness. That is, we think that we are very, very important in this world. We think that we are undisposable in this world. We have so much important role in this world that without us, the world will stop, right? So that's a very wrong notion. We should always think that Krishna is controller of everything. Every single thing is completely and perfectly controlled by the Lord. And if I pull out myself from this, there is no loss at all in this whole creation. In fact, that's a very touching episode of Haridas Thakur's passing away. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, that's there. Haridas Thakur actually says that the Lord says that understanding the mood of Haridas Thakur. So if you leave, it will be a great loss in the society. Such a pure devotee like you, you make a lot of difference in the society. Just by seeing you, people can get purified. Just by seeing you, just by having association with you, people can progress in Krishna consciousness. And if you leave this planet, it will be a great loss for this planet. And then in response, Haridas Thakur says that, like, what's the loss if an ant dies in this world? There is no loss. And my passing away would be like that. It is of not much of a value, not much of this one. So he considered himself like that. So in most of the cases, in terms of if we analyze ourselves in the kind of material attachments that we have, and the things like that, so it's not a very big deal. The world will not lose anything if I leave this planet. World has so many great stalwarts. The world has so many wonderful devotees who can actually purify this place. I am actually adding up to the contamination of this place. I am not so important. Even if I'm able to do something big, what's the use? Is there any spiritual value to it? Is there any spiritual, am I helping in somebody's purification or somebody's advancement in Krishna consciousness? So that is very important. If I can make difference in somebody's life, in spiritual life, then there is a point in holding on to this life. Otherwise, there is no point actually. If I am materialist, or if I am not able to come across the or come over the material sense gratification and things like that, so then such a life is not making any difference to this whole world. People are already engaged in karma, and people are already engaged in sinful activities. And I'm going to add up a few more sinful activities, or I'm just going to be a catalyst in the whole thing. So there is no point in such a life actually. Such a life doesn't make any much difference. No, he may be a scientist, or he may be a big industrialist, or he may be an economic reformer or something like that. So what's the point? No, what's the spiritual value? No. So so many people of such sort has come, and so many times the world has seen so many revolutions and things like that. What's the point? No, still the people are there, still the living entities are there, suffering in this world, no, again and again. So it is very important that we try to develop this detachment as devotees. We try to develop a detachment in whatever we do. We try to develop a detachment. So service also, we have to develop a detachment towards service also. Why is it so? Because Krishna can say, okay, I have put you in this service and you have done it very well. Now I want you to do something else. And that time I cannot say, Krishna, I'm so much attached to this. No, like we should be attached to Krishna, and we should be attached to Krishna's service, not a particular thing or things like that. Later stages, like we will develop, like in the advanced stages of Bhava and Prema, we will develop such particular attachment to a particular service. But in the beginning stages, no, it is our attachment to service is just another reflection of our material attachment. That's all. No, it's just our material nature is being dovetailed in Krishna's service. That's it. So that doesn't have much of relevance actually. So even for the matter of service, no, we should be detached. Anytime, no, my seniors can come and say, okay, fine, no, you have done this sufficiently enough. Now you move on. No, you do something else. And I should be, in a position to say, yes, no, that's very nice. No, like whatever it pleases you, whatever it pleases you, I'm ready to do. So that's a very good attitude. That's a very good mood in which we can actually cultivate. And what to speak of the material attachments? Definitely, we should develop detachment towards that. And the performance of bhakti will definitely bring about that change in heart, where we can naturally develop that detachment. And if we are not developing, that means we are not practicing Krishna consciousness properly. If day by day, if the detachment is not increasing, then we are not actually practicing Krishna consciousness sufficiently or properly. It is nicely mentioned in one of the slokas in Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhaktir pareshanubhava viraktir anyatra chaisa trika eka kalaha prapadyamanasya yatashnatashus tushti pushti shudapayonugasha. Bhakti means devotion to God, paresha anubhava, direct experience of the Lord, and virakti means detachment from the worldly things. These three things, know how it will come and when it will come. Bhaktir paresha anubhava viraktir anyatra chaisa trika eka kala. All these three things are going to come simultaneously, and together it is going to come. Trika eka kala. And then what is the example that is given for this one? Prapadya manasya. So when it will come? When I take shelter of the Lord, when I follow the instructions of the Lord, when I chant the names of the Lord with full absorption, with full attention and focus, and when I hear the Srimad Bhagavatam with full attention, when I do the devotional practices with full attention and absorption, and following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas and strictly guided by the spiritual master, when I do these things, definitely it is going to show the effect. And how it is going to show the effect? Prapadyamanasya yatashnatashus tushti pushti shudapayonugasha. Just like when I'm eating food, so when I'm eating prasad, so nobody needs to certify that now, okay, enough, no, you have got your hunger cleared. Nobody needs to certify that. I can myself understand. And three things that happens. Tushti, that is the nourishment. Pushti, that's what is it? Tushti, Pushti, and Shuddhapaya. So, like Tushti, nourishment, satisfaction, and then this reduction of hunger. So these three things happen. So in the same way, Tushti, I think Tushti and Pushti. Pushti is nourishment. Sorry. So Tushti is like satisfaction, and then Pushti is nourishment, and then Shuddhapaya is the reduction of hunger. So in the same way, how these three things, every morsel of food goes inside my system. I get a little bit of satisfaction, my hunger reduces a little bit, and then I get a little strength in the body. And then I put another morsel of food inside. I get progressively these three things, actually march forward. So in the same way, if I am following the instructions given by the spiritual master nicely, if I am chanting the holy names of the Lord properly, if I am studying Srimad Bhagavatam and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam properly, these three things, bhakti, devotion to God should increase simultaneously and progressively every single day. Every single time I take shelter of the Lord, it should actually progress. Bhakti paresha anubhava, direct experience of the Lord. how the Lord is actually acting in my life. The direct experience of the Lord should increase. And then virakti, detachment from the worldly things. All these three things should simultaneously and progressively it should increase. That is when we are performing proper bhakti. If we are still attached, if we are still, means if you are still not seeing a progressive curve that is coming up, if you are not seeing that day by day progress is not happening, or at least on a snapshot of week or a month, the progress is not happening, so then we should see that something seriously wrong in our practice. Holy name cannot go in vain. Srimad Bhagavatam cannot go in vain. The practice of devotional service cannot go in vain. It must act, it must give results, right? So that is very, very sure. And if there is any problem, it's the problem on our side. We are not doing it in a proper way, right? So that's the main aspect there. And then here Prabhupada is talking about yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sadatat bhava bhavitah. So at the end of the life, what a person actually remembers, that is what he will attain in the next life, right? So I'm not sure if I'll be able to step on to the next sloka. Is that okay? Or should we cover the next sloka also? Can somebody can just tell me? Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Prabhuji, you can read next shloka.
Okay. So, okay. So now we'll just finish the sloka before that. So here we see that this remembrance of what we'll remember at the point of death, it matters a lot about what we have cherished, what we have invested our time upon, and what we have contemplated and things like that. So that is what will be this one. That is what will be the subject matter that will come to my mind. I cannot forcibly think something else. No, all of you would have experienced when you're chanting the names of the Lord, it is not possible for us to just control ourselves that key like, no, this is what I want to think and I want to apply my focus on the holy name. It's based on all the previous activities that I've done the day long in the past day, and then like what's the mood with which I'm starting and things like that. So that occupies a lot of things. So most of the time, the thought process, what is there in my mind, is not in my control. So I have to prepare, I have to cultivate for that particular thing. And in the same way, the death is the ultimate, final. And there, if we have to perform well, a lifetime of practice, a good practice throughout the life is a very, very important thing, right? So if we have relished the holy name, if we have relished hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, so then we can relish these things even in the end of the life, and we will not be so much disturbed by the old age, and we will not be so much disturbed by any problems. Sometimes people ask, when in initial classes, that why have you come for these classes? Why have you taken up this Gita course or things like that? So sometimes people say that no, we want to get out of the problems of life. So we say that no, it's not possible. Problems of life will remain. No, by studying the Bhagavad Gita, by studying Srimad Bhagavatam, we will be equipped to face the problems of life. That's the thing maximum that we can do. No, this world will remain as dukkhalayam. It will keep throwing dukkhas. It will keep throwing tantrums to us. But then we need to see how to remain fixed and steadfast. Even amongst all this reverses and things like that. So here the last part of the purport Prabhupada writes. At the end of life, a person thinks of what he has done throughout his whole life. Thus, he gets another body, dehantara, according to his thoughts and desires at the end of life. One overly addicted to life at home naturally thinks of his beloved wife, and at the end of life, consequently, in the next life, he gets the body of a woman, and he also acquires the results of his pious or impious activities. In this chapter, the acceptance of women's body by King Puranjana will be thoroughly explained. Here the Puranjana, the king, he was so much attached to his wife, so he was contemplating about her at the point of death, and he had to accept the body of a woman at the point of death. So whether we accept the body of a male, whether we accept the body of a woman, both are defeat only. If we can accept the spiritual body of a Vaikuntha Swarupa, Vaikuntha Rupa, that is very nice. If we can accept a spiritual body, that's nice. If we are by any trade, if we are getting a higher body or lower body in the material world, it's all the same. There is no progress. There is nothing much significant that has happened. So we will try to read the next sloka also. Kala kanyapi bhuvuje puranjana purambalat yayabi bhuta purushaha satyo niksharathamiyar. Gradually, Kalakanya, with the help of dangerous soldiers, attacked all inhabitants of Puranjan city and thus rendered them useless for all purposes. So this is like the whole body, the signs of death. When it comes in, it actually destroys all the aspects of the body, and then slowly the body actually becomes useless. So purport: at the fag end of life, when the invalidity of old age attacks a man, his body becomes useless for all purposes. Therefore, Vedic training dictates that when a man is in his boyhood, he should be trained in the process of brahmacharya. That is, he should be completely engaged in the service of the Lord and should not in any way associate with women. When the boy becomes a young man, he marries between the age of 20 and 25. When he is married at the right age, he can immediately beget strong, healthy sons. Now, female descendants are increasing because young men are very weak sexually. A male child will be born if the husband is sexually stronger than the wife. But if the female is stronger, a female child will be born. Thus, it is essential to practice the system of brahmacharya if one wishes to beget a male child when one is married. When one reaches the age of 50, he should give up family life. At that time, one's child should be grown up so that the father can leave the family responsibilities to him. The husband and wife may then go abroad to live a retired life and travel to different places of pilgrimage. When both the husband and wife loses their attachment for family and home, the wife returns home to live under the care of her grown-up children and to remain aloof from family affairs. The husband then takes sannyas to render some service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the perfect system of civilization. The human form of life is especially meant for God realization. If one is unable to take to the process of Krishna consciousness from the very beginning of life, he must be trained to accept these principles at the fag end of life. Unfortunately, there is no training even in the childhood, nor can one give up his family life even at the end. This is the situation of the city of Puranjan, figuratively described in these verses. So here we see that aspect of how the body becomes invalid, and at that time it is very difficult for him to think of any devotional aspects or practicing Krishna consciousness. So for this, the seed has to be sown right from the beginning, right from the brahmacharya stage of the life. So in the young age, if a boy is practiced or trained in terms of brahmacharya, and then he is not having association with women, so then it is like the system is, if I have to sustain knowledge into the system, then there should not be any holes. If it's like knowledge is like a liquid substance, and then my system is like a water pot, kind of a pot. And if there is no holes in the pot, the water or the dravya can be held in the pot. But then if there are holes, then how much of a knowledge I pour in, how much of a Krishna consciousness I pour in, it will all leak in the holes. So that's a very important thing to understand, that we should try to see that this sense gratification is restricted. That is when we can actually sustain knowledge. That's the main point about practicing brahmacharya and having not having association with the opposite sex and things like that. So in the young age, a child has to be brought up like this. And now in the age of social media, it's like far away kind of a thing. Everyone gets an exposure, everyone gets so much of exposure into these things, and then people become very weak in terms of understanding the higher subjects, spiritual subjects, and their senses are always disturbed. The mind is constantly contemplating about sense objects, right? So then what's the point? Then it's like very difficult for them to even taste the nectar of Krishna consciousness. Rupa Goswami says, Bhukti Mukti Sprihayavad Pishachi Hridi Vartate Tavat Bhakti Sukhasyartha Katham Abhyudayo Bhaved. So when a person's mind is fully engrossed, or he is desiring to have Bhukti and Mukti, that is material sense gratification and liberation, no such in such a heart, no tavat bhakti sukhasyartha. How can he even experience the happiness of bhakti? It is not possible for him to taste the happiness of bhakti. So, his heart will be dry, and he will not be able to taste the nectar of Krishna consciousness. And then, he'll be bereft of this nectar of Krishna consciousness. So, in the young age, if they can get the taste of Krishna consciousness, then even if they become grahasthas, later they will get an idea that I have tasted this Krishna consciousness in a very, very nice way, and I have to get back to that life. No, that's really very nice. No, that kind of a very nice enthusiasm will come in a person, right? And then here it talks. Prabhupada is talking about how a male child is born and female child is born, and then he's giving this one of he gives credit to the practice of brahmacharya, and it is very, very important. Devotees, I assume like here all serious devotees are there. So devotees, their life is meant for tapasya and attaining Krishna, and begetting children is a sacred act, and it has to be performed according to the scriptures and according to the samskaras, and under the guidance of senior devotees. And it's like one has to take the blessings of all the Vaishnavas, and then they have to pray to the Lord that let there be a son, let there be a child, who will practice Krishna consciousness nicely, who will contribute to the society in terms of Krishna consciousness. In that way, let there be a nice child, who will come and who will be a nice preacher in this world, who will do a lot of good work, by his performance of Krishna consciousness. So in that way, we should have a prayerful mood, and then we should do, it's a greatest service to the humanity, but it is an art. It should be done in a right way, right? So there may be like many senior grahastha devotees will be there, so they can guide in this particular matter. It's a very, very sacred act, and we have the capacity to change this world if we can bring in nice devotional progeny, right? So that's the power that grahasthas have with them. So when one reaches the age of 50, he should give up family life, and at that time, one's child should be grown up. That means a person enters into the grahastha ashram at the right time, right? So at the right time, at the age of 20, 25, if he enters, then he can actually retire at the right time, right? So one of the senior devotees, he always mentions, grahastha ashram means a 25-year agreement of renunciation. It's while entering into the grahastha ashram, he makes an agreement saying, after 25 years, I'm going to quit. That's the agreement with which he should actually enter. And then he should beget children at the right time. And then we should then he can give the family responsibilities to the grown-up son very quickly. And then he can actually step on to the next role. That's vanaprastha and sannyasa. So Prabhupada mentions that the wife and the husband can remain together, and then they can go to the tirtha yatras, or they can perform devotional service together. But then at a certain point, if the husband wants to take sannyas, he wants to go further, that should also be there should be facility for that. So this is all possible if we can actually relish with Krishna consciousness nicely. Otherwise, it is not possible, right? So this is a perfect system of civilization. Human form of life is especially meant for God realization. Now we have got this rare form of human life, and we should utilize this to perfect our life and make the goal of Krishna consciousness come true, right? If one is unable to take the process of Krishna consciousness from the very beginning of life, it is never a loss. We should sometime, even at the fag end of life, we should take up the Krishna consciousness, very, very seriously, at whatever time we get it, understanding the rarity of the process, understanding the potency of the process of bhakti, we should immediately take it. What is a guarantee? In the next lifetime, I'll be even getting a human form of life. I'll be getting the association of devotees. I'll be getting the chance to chant the holy names of the Lord. Now that I have got sufficient exposure into these things, let me take it seriously, and I have to finish the business in this very lifetime. That's something very, very important. That kind of a focus we should have. Here Prabhupada is saying, unfortunately, there is no training even in the childhood, or even in the family life, or at the end of the life. So that's the situation of Puranjan, Puranjan's story. Now, this also adds up a very important thing for the devotees. Devotees have Krishna with them, and devotees can give Krishna to others. Devotees have bhakti, and devotees can distribute bhakti. And devotees are the only custodians of the bhakti. And if they don't step out and preach, actually we are committing violence. If we should not feel guilty of committing violence, then we should do something for preaching Krishna consciousness, something to introduce people to Krishna consciousness in our day-to-day life, right? So that's something that's very, very important, in all of our life. That should be a sadhana in our life, that we try to practice nicely, and then we try to give this Krishna consciousness to others. If we are actually tasting the holy name, if we are actually relishing the Srimad Bhagavatam, we will do definitely something for the purpose of preaching. We will try to distribute this holy name, to somebody at least, right? So with this, I conclude my talk here. It's exactly 1 hour. So any questions or comments, we can take it.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the very, very nice class, covering all these concepts very clearly from the purport and explaining the purport in detail. Prabhu, I have one question. And when we were talking about not having attachment to material things, it was quite relatable. And also, I understand that you also made a statement that it is also good not to have attachment to your service, in the sense that if someone is asking you to move on, you should be ready to move on. I understand the statement as such, but then on a practical level, how do we develop that and practice that mood, and how can we do it in a way that it doesn't impact our enthusiasm to continue our services? So can you throw some more light on that?
So this is specifically, it cannot be artificially imitated. It has to go with, as we are discussing that sloka, Bhaktir Pareshanubhava Viraktir Anyatar Chaishatrika Eka Kalaha Prapadyamanasya No Etashnatashus Tushti Pushti Shudapayo Nagasha. So bhakti, to the level we have developed devotion to the Lord, to the level we have got direct experience of the Lord, to that level we will be able to develop detachment. All these three things are going to progress simultaneously and progressively, right? So we cannot, if we have a very little bhakti, and if we have attachment to things around, and then we take a very harsh step on ourselves to be detached, then that will be very, very difficult to go on. So we will constantly contemplate about that particular aspect. And then if we don't have any much choice, and if we are just asked to move on, so then we can actually contemplate philosophically and then set right. But then if it is our own personal choice, definitely in bhakti, we should not take our own personal choices. We should always be like guided by our superiors, always be acting on the instructions of our superiors. So sometimes these kind of instructions do come. When it comes, like at least if it is if I have not grown up to that level of detachment, at least I can try to philosophically contemplate on that. Definitely, I should be attached to the service, to the mission, and not to a particular way of service or particular service or something like that. Whatever is needed for the mission, I am just a servant of the mission. I'm just servant of Srila Prabhupada, and I'm just servant of this mission. And whatever way my services can be used in this whole mission, that's very wonderful, right? So we can actually develop that kind of an attitude. That's at least philosophically we can be convinced of. So if we can deepen our devotional service, then automatically this thing is there. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayatyasu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayata Haitukam. So it's like bhakti has the power to give this kind of detachment. So one thing that we can think of, when our superiors come and say, like, okay, you move on, this is sufficient enough for you. So then if I feel hurt, then I can, if I have built a very nice palace in my mind saying that I'm a nice devotee, I'm so humble and things like that. So then actually we can shatter that palace, and we can understand that, oh, I have to cross a lot more way in the practice of devotional service. So these are the different applications that we can actually take on. So one is that, like, the image about ourselves as a great devotee, we can shatter that. And then this one, like, we can actually philosophically contemplate and settle to that issue. Or another way, like, if we can actually practice, if we can deepen our devotional service, definitely we will be able to face the situation in a nice way, right? So these are some of the ways I can think of approaching this thing. And time and again it happens. When it happens, it's very painful. I've gone through it many times. It's very, very painful to go through that.
Very nice, Prabhu. But one point again, I just thought, you can throw more light, is that the idea is that the more you become, meaning advanced in a particular service, the attachment increases. Like, why would the attachment decrease when you are getting more and more, probably, I won't say advanced, but then you are doing it for a long time, and you are feeling the tushti and everything from that service. And you feel very spiritually enlivened, and you feel that it's a very not even you feel that it's a routine, and you are having that satisfaction, and you feel Krishna is also reciprocating, and it's going on. So at that point, how would you get a detachment? Won't it be more attachment? That's another thing that I was thinking.
Okay, actually speaking, the service, if it is actually nourishing our Krishna consciousness, we are experiencing Krishna over there. So if we are experiencing Krishna, we'll be ready even to experience Krishna in some other place, in some other form. If the instruction of my spiritual master or if the instruction of my superiors is that I have to do something else that is very important, then I will see Krishna over there. Because I can see Krishna through the instructions of the spiritual master. My relationship to Krishna is, my service to Krishna is through the spiritual master, through my authorities. And when I connect with them, that is what is going to give me Krishna. And Krishna is the factor which is nourishing the whole thing. If I'm attached to some technicalities or the logistics of a particular service and things like that and all, so probably that is my attachment of my material nature with that particular service. I have not been, probably it could be that I've experienced some Krishna over there, but then I am more experiencing a satisfaction of the modes of nature that I have acquired. So then when the modes of nature, when that is stopped, when that particular avenue of satisfaction is stopped, then probably I will feel hurt. That's the hurt which we are trying to apply the ointment to. But if I'm experiencing Krishna, so then I would be eager to experience Krishna in other ways also.
Wow, that was a very deep and beautiful answer, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Definitely, this answer is very, very nice to reconcile ourselves. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam, all goes to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. This is Shyama Gauri Dasi from Charlotte. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your class and for accepting our request for giving class for us. Prabhuji, I have a question. Like at the beginning, you told the story about the king and the apsaras coming in the kingdom, and the devotees there, they are getting the test of sense gratification. So I have seen people, they just make money and don't use for themselves. So, and then they don't do much of sense gratification, but still they are not Krishna conscious, and they get old and they get very weak. And if you ask them, what will you do with all your money, they say, we'll give it to our children. So the key of the getting old is the sense gratification. Then why these people get old and weak?
Okay, the sense gratification, if we see what is sense gratification means to enjoy one's senses. It could be in the way of gratifying the tongue, gratifying the eyes, and gratifying all the senses, or it could be in the next level of prestige. You see, like how nicely I saved. You see, how nicely I controlled my senses. You see how nicely I have managed everything. That's also a sense gratification. And this is this is very, very lower form of sense gratification. There is higher forms of sense gratification wherein a person says that, you see, like I've given up all the material desires. All the material things are given up. And then No, there is one nice sloka from Srimad Bhagavatam which talks about this. Naishkarmyam api achyuta bhava varjitam nashobanam jnanam alam niranjanam kuta punasvashvadabhadram ishvare nacharpitam karma yata prakaranam. So this says that Naishkarmya, exactly the point what you're talking about, a person who's doing Nishkama Karma Yoga, who doesn't have attachment to the objects of the senses to be gratified for oneself. No, but it is Achyuta Bhava Varjitam. It is no, it is he doesn't have Krishna consciousness in him. Then what is the beauty of it? It is Nashobanam. There is no beauty in this whole thing. Nashobanam. Jnanam Alam Niranjanam. Even a jnani, for that matter, who has attained the position of not enjoying the sense gratification, not even enjoying maintaining a family and giving it to their children and things like that. No, nothing of these things. Even then it is called as no Nashobanam, because this is also one form of karma, one form of lust, one form of sense gratification. What is the form of sense gratification there? Because he is thinking that I will become one with the Supreme Lord. I have given up all the desires for sense gratification. I have given up even the karmic activities. The yajna performances, rituals, everything is temporary and materialistic. I have given them up all, and now I want to progress to merge in the existence of Brahma Jyoti. Even till there, that is also called as karma, because he is doing that out of his own desire. When we can call sense gratification is not there, when he wants to serve Krishna and for his pleasure, and that too, again, it's a big topic, of sense gratification. What is the definition of sense gratification? So if we serve, in a nutshell, if I can tell you what is sense gratification. If I want to serve Krishna, if that thing which makes Krishna pleasurable, so that is devotional service and not sense gratification. Then even demons, when they fight, Krishna becomes pleased. No, that is not devotional service. That is definitely sense gratification. And then there should be an attitude to please Krishna. There should be an attitude to please Krishna. Even with the attitude of pleasing Krishna, I cannot say I will offer tea with tulasi to Lord, and no, that is devotional service. That is also sense gratification, because it is not according to the scriptures, right? So if it has to be on the following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas and strictly following the spiritual master. If that is not there, everything else is completely sense gratification, right? So these people are doing sense gratification. So they may not be doing gross forms of sense gratification, but then literally every single person of this world devoid of Krishna consciousness is doing sense gratification. There is no doubt about it. Okay.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Very beautiful answer.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you mentioned 2-3 times that, with the children. But where is the silver line, Prabhuji? Where is the where is the thin line where it becomes too pushy from the parents' side to give Krishna consciousness, and when we become too lenient to not give it at all? How do we know how are they feeling? We are thinking that we are doing our best. We are saying about Krishna, that is our duty. But if they feel pressurized, how do we know where to stop, Prabhuji?
One easy parameter, or to say it is easy, it's a difficult task. One easy parameter that we can see is, am I a friend to my child? That's a very important thing. Am I a friend to my child? So that's a very important parameter to check. So what is friendship means? Krishna spoke the entire Bhagavad Gita, and then he told Arjuna that etechesi tathakuru. Now you do whatever you want. I'm giving the freedom to you to choose the things. Right? So this is real friendship. Krishna is not saying, you see, I am the Supreme Lord, and then I am speaking to my dear friend, this particular Bhagavad Gita, and if you don't accept, what will people think about me? It is like deposit out. It's like full first show flop. It will be like that if Arjuna would have not accepted it. But then Krishna says, no, I will remain your friend even if you don't accept my instructions. I will always be there with you, and I'm your friend all the time. It's not that whether you accept my instruction. Many times people think that if people don't follow what I say, that means they don't like me. They don't actually value me. It may not be. Why do we have to think in that way? So friendship means we give the good advice, and then we say, okay, fine, it's up to you, and I trust you, and then you take a call. No, you are a mature person, so you should take a call. So at the right age, we should actually, especially the age of 11, 12, 13, when their systems change, the parents have to become friends to the children. Before that, they have a period or window of period where Chanakya Pandit very nicely says that till 5 years of age, let them play like unrestrictedly, and then we don't restrict them so much, or we don't even correct them so much till 5 years. And 5 to the maturity, or little before maturity only, like the parents have to start behaving in a different way. They have to start developing friendship with the children, not like parents, not like the bosses. So they have to develop friendship with the children. And when the friendship is developed, generally these problems come at the age of 10, 11, 12. That's where parents freak out, the children freak out when everything happens. So that time is a very important time. One has to develop friendship. So we can just ask to ourselves, if they do anything wrong, will they have the guts to come and reveal it to us? How will I react to their problem if they do any wrong? Do they have that level of friendship with me? If they have that level of friendship with me, definitely I can help. Definitely I can help. If I don't have that friendship, then forget it. It's not possible. You can do anything in the world. You can be very nice to them. You can even appease them and things like that. But relationship matters. Friendship matters a lot there. It's very important that parents develop friendship with the children. Children are children only 10, 11. That's all. After that, they're not children.
Prabhuji, thank you so much. Wonderful answer. Thank you. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the beautiful class and very nice question answer, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Is there anybody having any more questions for Prabhuji? Thank you once again, Prabhuji, for such a beautiful class. We are looking forward for your association again in future, Prabhu. If there are no more questions, we can end the call here. I would like to offer my obeisances to you and all the Vaishnavas assembled on the call. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah ananta koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His grace. Harikshetra Prabhuji ki jai. Sorry, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so